हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी वेरी वार्म वेलकम। आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे आज के न्यूज़पेपर एनालिसिस में ऑन द अगस्त ऑफ 26 एंड आई एम होपिंग कि आप सब अपना बहुत बहुत ध्यान रख रहे हो ड्यूरिंग these uncertain times while also keeping in mind that you are revising sufficiently on a regular basis because bina revision ke no success is possible. So let's dive straight into the analysis for today. We'll be covering certain segments of our summits and meetings today in the newspaper analysis and we'll be taking down notes for that. So stay tuned, हम उसके बारे में बात करेंगे. One of the big organizations जिसका summit India is going to host, we'll be talking about that. So keep that in mind. On that note, let's dive straight into today's newspaper analysis and I hope that all of you have been doing regular revision because I have been conducting regular revision classes for all of you throughout this week. So do not miss out on those revision classes which are very very important for all of you. On that note, let's dive straight into it. So if you are someone who is watching me for the very first time, I'm Kushagra Goyal, a graduate from National Law University, a master's in economics, and to connect with me you can connect through the telegram channel जिसमें अब आप लोग अपने doubts हर रोज comment section में send कर सकते हो. That is through Kushagra Goyal _Unacademy through this telegram channel जिसका link आपको यहाँ text में भी दिख रहा है. And you can also download the notes that you see on your screen through bit.ly/KUSHGK notes. उसके through आप इसको access कर पाओगे. On that note, we will be continuing with our daily current affair quiz today also. That is at 11:20 AM. That is immediately after our newspaper analysis. We'll be following it up with the current affair quiz. So do not miss out on that. And do make a note that आज का जो revision quiz है, instead of its regular time of 5 PM, आज वाला quiz will happen at 7 PM. Okay. So keep that change in mind. This is to remind you that we are doing it at a different time today. So keep that in mind when you do it. On that note, let's dive in. Very very good morning to everybody else who have tuned in. Hi Middat, hello Gayatri, Himanshu, Noor, Bharat, Kavya, Shubham, Anurag, Shiksha, Pranjali, Usha, Anita. Very very good morning to all of you. How can you cover your backlogs? Stay tuned, I'll be talking about that. So on that note, let's begin on the front page. Now there was a changeover of Chief Minister and the party in power in Bihar, which is that the Bharatiya Janata Party is no more in alliance with the Janata Dal United and they have now patched up with Rashtriya Lok Dal RJD. Okay, Rashtriya Janata Dal. So the government proved its majority. A floor test is basically to prove a majority in the assembly. Okay, now this is to prove your majority and a new speaker was also elected through this. So that's about it. This is about confirmation of the majority that you have. Nothing of note apart from this. Then we move on to the other big news. So Supreme Court is going to hear a review petition today of the PMLA judgment. The judgment that was given by the court on July 27th has been a part of controversy and now the bench of Justice N.V. Ramana will be hearing it for a review. So review is a very exclusive domain of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the only one that can do it and it's a very exceptional scenario. It doesn't happen regularly, it happens very rarely. So keeping that in mind, you need to ensure that we'll wait for the Supreme Court to decide how and what it decides. Okay. But this is an important one. Another thing that the Supreme Court has also agreed to revisit is its judgment on poll promises. Okay. Now what is this about? We'll talk about that. In the meantime, very good morning to others, Samriddhi, Radhika, Kashish, who have also tuned in. Very very good morning to all of you. So what is this? Supreme Court to revisit a 2013 verdict on poll promises. So we all have our politicians and they make promises during elections. Okay, so let's say person A who is from XYZ party promised to have 10 kilometers of cycle track. उन्होंने अपने इलेक्शन में प्रॉमिस किया कि if elected to power he will get a cycle track in. ठीक है, नाउ 5 साल बीत गए एंड ही हैज़ नॉट येट बिल्ट द साइकिल ट्रैक, उन्होंने इस पे काम नहीं किया. Now the question was, in 2013, can you hold such an individual accountable for the distribution? If they had made a promise, can you hold them accountable for it? Okay. So the court had held that such promises, अगर उन्होंने अपना promise पूरा नहीं भी किया, cannot be claimed as corruption. It cannot be claimed as corruption. And the party in power, मान लेते हैं कि this political party is also in power and now Mr. A is not running up for elections once again. उनको वापस से टिकट नहीं दिया गया है, but the political party is still running for elections. So क्या ये political party के खिलाफ कोई केस फाइल हो सकता है? Can you go to court against this political party was the second question. Now that is also the court had held in 2013 not possible. But now the Supreme Court has agreed to revisit that. It has agreed to revisit whether the liability can be decided or not. Can the political party have accountability towards the same? So the argument is that a candidate makes a promise with the backing of his party. There cannot be dichotomy between the party and the candidate. अगर किसी candidate ने कुछ promise किया है, तो it is obviously on the pedestal of the political party in power. So how can then the liability not accrue to the political party? Okay. That is now what the question is about. So the Supreme Court is going to check about it. It's going to revisit what the candidate promises is, what is, and can he escape liability or not. Okay. So aaj a lot of important things the Supreme Court is gonna hear today. A lot of important judgments are gonna come up by the Supreme Court. It's going to hear about the PMLA review. It is also going to talk about the R.V. Ravindran Committee on the Pegasus spyware case. It is also going to hear the Bilkis Bano remission arguments. So it's a very important day in Supreme Court. Lots of judgments that we are going to discuss tomorrow. So keeping that in mind, okay, then your question, hi Evil, what is a Benami transaction law? I'll explain you. Give me a minute. Okay, let's finish this front page. Okay, so on the national news, nothing of note for us. Then none of these are important. Okay, more and more political news, nothing of note for us here. Then we come to the editorial section. So now before we arrive at the editorial section, one important aspect to be discussed for all of you is that for students who wanted to know about backlogs and how to prepare for them, so we are starting a new batch, that is the Law Stark batch for all of you, which will cover your entire GK syllabus by me from 0 till the end, and this batch is beginning today. The GK classes will start from August of 28. Pehli GK class is on August of 28. And in 3 months, I'll be covering the entire GK syllabus. So keeping that in mind, you can enroll in this batch at the earliest. जल्दी से जल्दी आप इस batch में enroll कर सकते हैं. And if you are a student who is preparing for the 11th grade, तब आप Success NLU batch में enroll कर सकते हैं, which is a long-term batch that is also beginning today. इस batch में you will get access to 50 live mock tests. And the best part, if you want to be like these Unacademy toppers, is you have 2 categories of notes for all of you, which is Iconic and Plus. In Iconic, however, you get notes, previous year questions, strategies, books and compendiums from us delivered right to your doorstep. To do that, you can download a sample scanning this QR code. इसको scan करके आप अपने sample notes को download कर सकते हैं अपने mobile phone पे. And the best thing is that until tomorrow, you can avail a minimum of 20 and up to 35% discount on your subscriptions. So if you want to make use of it, you can use the code KUSHGK to subscribe to Unacademy and get a minimum of 12,000 rupees of savings. This offer is only valid until now. So you will miss out and will have to pay far more if you do not use this opportunity. This is also available on the plus category, where the minimum savings that you will do is of 5.5 thousand rupees. So keep that in mind. The code to subscribe is KUSHGK, and you can avail multiple length of subscriptions as per your need. For students of 2023 exam, a minimum of 6 months is essential, because that will cover your overall subscriptions, overall examination cycle. And the prices of subscriptions are going to go up, so please ensure that you are not paying extra for the same content, and thus also make use of the iconic category, because you get live mentorship plus doubt solving plus priority in classes. And for any other doubt, you can call at this number 8585858585 per. And to connect with Unacademy, you can download their Telegram channel, which is Unacademy_CLAT. So coming to the main editorial, heading to the G20 and New Delhi's choices. So what is G20? We've been talking about G20 multiple times. So सबसे पहले let's note what is G20, what does it do, who are the member nations of it, and where is it happening. So इस साल from September end, the G20 summit will begin in Indonesia. Bali is gonna host it. But who are the countries that are part of it? So सबसे पहले the countries that there are a total of 19 plus EU who are members of the G20, okay, which is a group of 20 nations formalized as created in the year 2008, okay. So the countries that are part of it are Canada, USA, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, UK, France, Germany, Italy, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, India, China, Russia, South Korea, Japan, Indonesia, and Australia, okay. So the first thing to note down are the countries that are part of it. So alphabetical order mein, this is the way they look, okay. I will do that. Okay, thank you so much, Anisha. Thank you so much. So these 20 countries are important. The last is European Union, which is a group of 27 nations in Europe. So the European Union is also a permanent member of G20. It's not a country, it's a group of countries, but they are also a member of it. So the first thing G20 se related is about its members. Who are the member nations of G20? Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little so that you can note it down. Please note this down, very, very important. I'll slowly move across this list. आप इसे धीरे धीरे नोट करते जाओ. Very, very important for all of you, okay. So first is Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, Italy, India, Indonesia, Japan, Mexico, South Korea, Republic of Korea, you can write it as South Korea, very good morning Damanjeet, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, UK या United Kingdom, United States of America, USA, and the European Union. So the member states are these, okay. Now what is G20? Okay. So the G20 is an informal group of 20 largest economies of the world. They control approximately 90% of the world GDP. They have 67% of the world population. So they are a huge thing, okay. The G20 is a huge organization, and it's the place where these meetings happen between the world leaders. They set the agenda of how things are gonna happen in the world, okay. Now in 2022, the summit is going to happen in Bali, Indonesia. 23, it is going to be India. And then it is going to move towards an organization. The summits are going to happen in an organization grouping known as IBSA. That is Brazil and South Africa. Okay. What this means is these three group of countries, first of all, are already part of another organization, that is BRICS. But in BRICS, you have to engage with Russia and China. World doesn't want to engage or want you to engage with Russia. India doesn't want to engage with China. So for us, this is the opportunity to set the agenda. Another thing that is key is that for the next 4 G20 summits, they are going to happen in developing countries. Where are they happening? In developing countries. Not in developed, but in developing nations. All 4, Indonesia, India, Brazil and South Africa, are all developing nations. So what it does is that the agenda that India sets is all going to follow for the concerns of what is known as the Global South. So developing nations also have another name known as the Global South. क्या कहते हैं उन्हें? Developing nations को Global South. ठीक है. So that is where the editorial, this is all about the G20. Last year, that is in 2021, the G20 summit happened in Milan, Italy, and the 20 big economies agreed on minimum corporate tax. 2021 में, when the summit happened in 2021, they agreed to, which happened at Italy in Rome, Italy. What did these countries agree to? A minimum corporate tax. Okay, which was at 15%, that all these countries will have at least 15% of corporate tax in their economies, which was a landmark judgment. So, landmark decision. Thus, then the editorial moves on and tells us where are we heading, what could be the choices that India faces, what can India offer very differently, because from 1st December onwards, we will assume the presidency of the G20. It will be given to us. We are going to organize it later on. So India has hosted important conferences earlier, that is the non-aligned movement and the Asia-Africa summit. But the G20 is the culmination of the most important leaders of the world coming to India. So it has a higher degree of relevance, and it is for the first time that we are hosting it. G20 came into existence in the year 2008. That's when it was moved to a summit level meeting. Okay, so G20, an informal organization which came into existence in the year 2008-9. During the 2008 financial crisis, it was confirmed as a former organization, like a formalized thing. Okay. So this is what the agenda. Now after that, there are suggestions ki what are India's choices. So first of all, we could talk about our national interest, leaving a mark. What are the things that we are going to talk about? How are we going to set the agenda, what should be the discussion point, should it be about climate change, should it be about more cooperation, should it be about a bottom line discussion, all of those things are being discussed here. Okay, so first of all let's just note down the importance. For the first time, G20's presidency will be given to India in December 1 to 2022. Then what is the relevance of G20? It is 90% of the world GDP, 80% of the world trade, and 67% of the planet's population. Then its creation, elevated, the forum was elevated for the heads of government in 2008, which is about its creation. Okay, then about the next countries which are going to host it. Four democracies of developing nature, that is Indonesia, India, Brazil, South Africa, hold the presidency from 21 to 25. Combined leadership of the global south. This is also an opportunity for India for IBSA, India, Brazil, South Africa, because they will hold the presidency consecutively from 23 to 25, which is a way for further cooperation between India. So India could do something that Brazil and South Africa also want, which will improve our standing with these countries. Okay, that's the pointer. And then lastly, this summit is going to happen 2021 in Bali. So that's about it that we have. Now further things are suggestions, what could happen, those are speculative nature, unse hamara lena dena nahi hai. Okay, so that's not something we can control. All right, a little bit historical about the important summits we have hosted: the non-aligned movement in 1983, the India-Africa Forum Summit in 2015, when the Prime Minister hosted all the African Union nations in India. Okay. So, for those who wanted to note down the list of nations, once again, going through it one. These notes will be accessible to you through the link that I have provided, that is bit.ly/KUSHGK notes. So वहाँ से आप इसको access कर पाओगे, so you don't have to worry too much. All right. So I'm gonna stay here for 5-6 seconds. If you have any doubts, you can ask me right now. G7 में year में confusion हो रहा है. I'll address that at the end because otherwise it will get fumbled. We are talking about G20, then you are asking about G7. So उसके बारे में I'll tell you at the end. All right. So moving on, now we come to the left hand side. Family matters. This is about the Congress party and its presidency. It's about to announce new presidential election for its political party. Not relevant for us. Then the second one is keep it simple. So this is about the criticism of the compulsory linking, that why are authorities forcing people to link their Aadhaar card with voter ID, that any coercive action could be problematic is what they are saying. The reason for Aadhaar linking of voter ID is to ensure that there is no duplication, because Aadhaar is a unique one. You cannot make one or two Aadhaar cards. You can only have one Aadhaar card. So by linking it, it will prevent duplication in voter list. That's the idea. But the process is voluntary and should remain voluntary. That's the idea. That's most about it. Then we come to making a case for universal basic insurance in India. That instead of universal basic income, we should have a universal basic insurance also. So that's the result. अब इससे related, first of all, we have to note down about what the constitution says in India for workers. So सबसे पहला, सबसे important article for you all is Article 43 of the Indian Constitution, which is living wage for workers. Our constitution subscribes that the state shall endeavor to ensure that everybody is able to secure a living wage, conditions of working that ensure a decent standard of life and full enjoyment of leisure and social and cultural opportunities. क्या करेगा स्टेट? टू इंश्योर अ लिविंग वेज. ठीक है, अ लिविंग वेज. नाउ व्हाट डज दैट मीन? क्या होता है एक लिविंग वेज? सबसे पहले समझते हैं बेसिक वेज. बेसिक वेज इज द बेयर मिनिमम दैट यू नीड टू अर्न टू फॉर सर्वाइवल. सो इट इज बेयर मिनिमम इनकम फॉर सर्वाइवल. मतलब आपको बस जिंदा रहने के लिए जितने पैसे की जरूरत है उतने आपको पैसे आपकी सैलरी से मिल रहे हैं. दैट्स द बेसिक वेज. अ लिविंग वेज इज a little above the basic wage. It allows your bare minimum survival but also keeps in mind your other necessities. So for example, for upskilling, to keep your family upkeep, for you to have healthy food, all of that. So it is basic wage plus income to realize your full potential. ठीक है. सो ड्यूरिंग द पैंडेमिक व्हाट हैड हैपेंड, जब लॉकडाउन लगा हुआ था, सब चीजें बंद थी, तब अ सजेशन वाज मेड दैट द वर्ल्ड शुड हैव अ यूनिवर्सल बेसिक इनकम, कि सरकार को सबको एक बेसिक इनकम प्रोवाइड करनी चाहिए. दिस विल अलाउ एवरीबडी टू फोकस ऑन देयर हेल्थ, एजुकेशन, अपस्किलिंग, कीप टेकिंग केयर ऑफ देयर फैमिली, टेकिंग गुड केयर ऑफ देयर हेल्थ. ओके, सो दिस UBI, okay, was basically somewhere between a basic wage and a living wage. It was a statutory responsibility of the state to give. इंडिया के अंदर you don't have such responsibility, क्योंकि हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्या कहता है? It will endeavor, it will take a step towards it, but it's not responsible for that. Okay, so that's the bare article that this article is stating. Okay, then it moves on and makes a case for basic insurance. Now एक तो होता है बेसिक इनकम. बेसिक इनकम कैन नॉट सिक्योर योर हेल्थ बिकॉज लेट्स से यू फॉल सिक इन अ पैंडेमिक टाइम पीरियड, देन व्हाट डू यू नीड मोर to keep yourself or get back to the life you have is basic insurance. But everybody is not in formal sector. When you are not in formal sector, you are not making pension savings. When you are not making pension savings, you are not able to basically take care of such exigency situations. So the author is making a case that everybody should have a basic insurance. The state should make everybody have a compulsory insurance. सरकार को खुद की तरफ से करना चाहिए. ऑलरेडी देयर आर मैकेनिज्म्स. जो भी गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज होते हैं, जो भी प्राइवेट एम्प्लॉयज होते हैं कहीं पे ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में, दे ऑलरेडी हैव प्रोविडेंट फंड, सम सॉर्ट ऑफ पेंशन इंश्योरेंस. हाउएवर अ लार्ज पार्ट ऑफ इट इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ इट. सो उनको बेसिक इंश्योरेंस प्रोवाइड करने के लिए दिस इज द केस. बट फॉर अस द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मैंडेट बिकम्स इंपॉर्टेंट. ये पॉलिसी आर्टिकल है, हमें उससे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मैंडेट इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. ठीक है. Then your questions in the meantime, will the 5 PM class be there? Yes, I have told you कि 5 PM की जगह आज revision quiz 7 PM पर होगा. Instead of 5, it will happen at 7 PM today. Then, hi Rexa, you gave the CLAT and how do you do static GK syllabus? You can enroll for my new batch, that is the Law Stark batch. आप इस बैच में enroll कर सकते हो. Okay, this is the new batch that I am starting. आप इसमें enroll कर सकते हो for your subscription needs. Okay, यहाँ पे I'll be doing the syllabus and this will complete your entire syllabus for it. To subscribe, you can use the link in description using the code KUSHGK, and to do it right now, you will be able to get a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 35% discount. So use the code KUSHGK to subscribe. Link to the batch and subscription is in the description of this video. I will give it again at the end of the Telegram group also. ठीक है? Then we move on. So so wait till the end of the video. You can in the meantime join the Telegram channel jiska name is already going on in the ticker. You can see it in the bottom of the screen. When will the G20 summit happen this year? It will happen at the end of September. Okay. Then we come to strangling Tunisia's democracy. So एक महीना पहले हमने इसके बारे में एक आर्टिकल डिस्कस किया था about how the current president of Tunisia conducted a referendum on constitutional reforms, basically taking away all the power and putting it in his side. Okay. So where is Tunisia? Tunisia is this small country here in the north of Africa. Can you see all on your screen? So here is Europe, Italy, and it is at the bottom. Okay. So it is on the south of the Mediterranean Sea, and this is where Tunisia is. It's a small country here. Okay. At the top of Africa. South of Italy and south of Mediterranean Sea, this is where the Tunisian country is. Now what's the purpose of it? Why are we talking about it? We are talking about it because the president of Tunisia has done away with democracy in his country. That is Kais Saied. That's all that you need to do. He came into power in 2019, came out as a non-politician, stated that the country doesn't need politicians and we need to move beyond them and work towards that. Okay, so this is his name, and this is where Tunisia was the country which started the arrival of democracy or democratic movement in Africa, and now it is dead. So almost a decade later, that experiment of democracy has failed in the African continent. Okay, then we come right inside the death of Inder Meghwal. This is the sad death of a Dalit boy who had tried to drink water from an upper caste family's person's water bottle, and which led to him being killed for that, which shows that how untouchability is still practiced in India. But the article which bans untouchability is Article 17 of the Indian Constitution, which bans untouchability in India. Then we move on about patient wait for patents. In India, the turnover to approve a patent is the longest in terms of emerging or important economies of the world, which the court says is something that needs to be looked into. Then we move on to the Competition Amendment Bill 2022. So this is a new law that the government is bringing in. What is this new law? This new law is about mergers. So let's say a firm deals with toys, okay, and there is another company which also deals with toys. So the law right now some of these companies, let's say A wants to acquire B, right? In terms of that, the law, this amendment bill is about the disclosure norms. Okay, what is disclosure norms? In terms ki you have to inform the market when you are doing a acquisition of such category. So the amendment says that now you need to talk about the combined asset value also. So अभी तक क्या होता था कि you didn't have to tell the turnover or the assets which combined of them will create. So जैसे कि इस कंपनी के पास 2 करोड़ रुपए के टॉयज के एसेट्स हैं, इनके पास 50 लाख रुपए के, सो अब इनका कंबाइंड क्या हो जाएगा 2.5 करोड़. सो क्या ये कंपटीशन कमीशन के थ्रेशोल्ड में आते हैं इंफॉर्मेशन का? दैट्स द न्यू क्राइटेरिया दैट हैज बीन ब्रॉट इन. ओके, नाउ the new bill proposes to add deal value threshold. So that's the first thing. The second part is a concept known as gun jumping. Gun jumping is about when you do not inform about a transaction to the commission. जब आप किसी को inform नहीं करते हो, आपके ऊपर एक statutory responsibility, जैसे कि मैंने क्लास कंडक्ट करी, मैं आपको किसी को बताऊं नहीं कि मैंने रात सुबह 5 बजे एक क्लास ले ली है, ठीक है, उसमें मैंने सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जीके के टॉपिक्स कवर करा दिए। सुबह 5 बजे आई टुक इट, 6 बजे खत्म, किसी को इन्फॉर्म नहीं किया। बट एज माई स्टूडेंट्स आई हैव अ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू इन्फॉर्म यू। अब मैंने नहीं इन्फॉर्म किया तो दैट इज नोन एज अ प्रैक्टिस ऑफ गन जंपिंग। क्या कहते हैं उसको? गन जंपिंग। व्हेन यू हैव अ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू इन्फॉर्म बट यू डू नॉट इन्फॉर्म। ओके, देन होता है अनदर थिंग नोन एज hub and spoke cartels. Hub and spoke cartels. What is a hub and spoke cartel? So let's say I make plastic, firm B makes plastics, ठीक है? These plastics are then used by A, C and D for toys. This is well known. So B has a dominating position in terms of toys, plastic for toys. Let's say 90% of all the plastic that is used in making toys is supplied by B company. Now B company starts only supplying C and D and is not supplying A. Eventually A will run out of competition. It will not be able to sustain because there is no other company to procure toys, plastic to make toys from. This is known as an anti-competitive scenario because you are basically putting a company out of job by unethical practice. So competition law goes to check in this. So what are you doing? You are a hub. When everybody buys from you, you become a hub. And when you are not allowing some other individuals to participate in the market, you are putting spokes in their practice. So this non-allowing of A becomes spoke. So this is known as hub and spoke practice in competition law, which is anti-competitive in nature. अगर आप open market में operate करते हो तो you have to give fair reasons to operate or tell everybody about this. Okay. So hub and spoke as a place, horizontal restrictions on suppliers or retailers, prohibition on anti-competitive agreements, covers only similar entities. Ab this will now allow traders from other vertical chains to have it, because usually on the practice it will seem that, see, I am in plastic business, they are in toy business, I can't do anything to, I can't really affect them. But now the law will allow similar trade or linked trade to be checked by the anti-competitor regulator. भारत में competition law 2008 में आया है, so it's a very new domain. Okay, is spoke same as sanctions? No, it's not same as sanctions. It's like a informal way of running somebody out of market. ठीक है, it's an unethical practice, नहीं करना चाहिए. Okay, and the last reform that they are going to have is about leniency plus, which is a provision. So for example, you are doing certain things, it is a way of waiver of penalties that are imposed. That's the news here about certain penalties जो लगती हैं when you do not inform, or the level of punishment that you face. So revocation of those penalties is what this amendment is about. हमारे लिए these practices become more important because they are one-liner questions which can be asked to you rather than the larger aspect of effectiveness of a law. ठीक है, so theories become important, not the other. Then we move on. Lastly, the tomato flu outbreak, not important. This is hand mouth disease, which is normal flus that have been spreading, but US में इसके ऊपर ज़्यादा it has been given because it leads to tomato like lumps on your skin which eventually go away, but that's the news, nothing of note. Then we come to other national news. None of this is important. So see, Bilkis Bano case petition to be heard by the Supreme Court. I have told you this is about the remission that was given to the 11 convicts, whether this should be allowed or not. Because in today's time for rape you do not get remission. So whether this will happen or not is needs to be seen. Okay, then we move on to yesterday. We had noted how our defense minister had met his counterparts from the SCO members, India is going to host the next Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit next year. So therefore, he extended an invitation for members to attend the summit. Okay. Nothing of note apart from that. Then nothing of note for us here. And then in international news, the Prime Minister of Thailand has been suspended. That is Prayut Chan-o-cha, who has been the Prime Minister for almost 8 years. Thailand has a restriction. 8 साल से ज़्यादा आप वहाँ के Prime Minister नहीं रह सकते. So now there is claim that he has breached that threshold, so he is no more the Prime Minister. He has been suspended by the court there. That's the news. Apart from it, more aid from US coming to Ukraine. Nothing of note in that light. Then we come. Yes, RAT's headquarters is in Tashkent. Then we move on. Nothing of note in sports and economics. Nothing of note for us. So on that note, we will conclude the analysis for today. Okay. The first thing to note down is about G20 and its summits and its nature. Then about living wage. मैं करवा रहा हूँ ना अभय. I am telling you which is important, which is not important. That is why we do the analysis, ताकि आपको नहीं करना पड़े. I help you do that. Okay. Then I am just writing concepts of in competition law. All right. So these are the 3 main things on the newspaper for us today. Okay. Those are the key aspects to be noted down. All right. If you have any doubts now, some of you had put in your question about where did the first G20 summit happen. That happened in Washington DC in 2008. Okay, the first G20 summit happened in USA, Washington DC. UBI is Universal Basic Insurance and Universal Basic Income. उसको हमने यहाँ पे cover कर लिया as living wage and Article 43. So on that note, I'll conclude for the day. Now, to connect with me and to note about the new batch, you can connect on the Telegram channel, that is Kushagra Goyal _Unacademy. Okay, and the place to download the notes of today's class is bit.ly/KUSHGK notes. Nature of G20 is an informal organization. There is no secretariat of treaty of it. Okay, so इधर से आप इस Telegram channel पे link रहेगा about the new batch to enroll and the code also through which you can get the discount also. And the quiz will happen, the daily current affair quiz. We will do it at 11:20. So अभी से 5 मिनट के अंदर we will begin that. And the revision quiz for today is at 7 p.m. Keep that in mind, is at today at 7 p.m. Okay, instead of 5 it is today at 7 p.m. So keep that in mind. And we'll talk about Benami on Saturday. In depth, we'll talk about these Benami transactions on Saturday in the recent legal judgment class. Okay, so for those who have been asking about Benami transactions, the judgment and the law we'll talk about in this class on Saturday, that is on August 27. So wait, we'll do a detailed discussion of what that judgment was about, why is it relevant for us. So keep that in mind. On Saturday, this class is going to happen for 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. And tomorrow, I'll be taking your legal reasoning doubts at 5:10 p.m. Okay, so any doubts that you have related to legal reasoning, you can ask me at 5:10 p.m. tomorrow as part of a special class. And there is a legal adalat for all of you on 27th at 1 p.m. and for students around the city of Delhi can enroll for our offline scholarship test, which is gonna happen on 27th at 3 p.m. So the QR code to scan that and enroll for it is this. You get a chance to win 100% scholarship. तब तक के लिए थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन. अगर आपको ये एनालिसिस अच्छा लगा है तो प्लीज़ गिव इट अ थम्स अप, एंड इफ़ यू आर न्यू टू द चैनल डू सब्सक्राइब. तब तक के लिए टेक केयर. कल मिलते हैं.